Welcome back to the Dazn Boxing Show. I go by the name of Ak.
And I'm Barack the Boxing Bully.
Fresh off the jet. And yes, Barack, I'm literally fresh off the jet. No jokes. I'm not lying. I haven't even washed up yet.
Well, how fresh can you be then, if you off the jet like that?
That's a good point. I'm not too fresh, but I'm definitely off the jet. From Vegas, we all saw an epic upset this past weekend at the T-Mobile Arena. Canelo losing against Dmitry Bivol. We want to just touch on a few things on how Dmitry won that fight and how Canelo lost it. First off, right, let's start with Dmitry Bivol. Credit to him for upsetting the apple card. We might not see Triple G Canelo in September. We actually might see a Canelo Bivol rematch. I mean, we all went into this fight, Barack, knowing that this was a very dangerous fight as far as stylistically, because of Bivol's size, his length, his jab, his in and out style, but straight punches down the pipe. I think that was key in this fight, and he started from the very beginning.
Yeah, we all didn't do that though, and that's the thing. Like maybe you and myself knew that Bivol was the toughest test in that division, well at least we thought so, but most people didn't. Most people, even the odds makers, and I said the odds makers can be wrong. Canelo doesn't belong in this weight class. Does that mean he can't rematch and win? No, he probably can, or he possibly can. But according to his body shape, according to his size, he shouldn't probably be in this weight class. The human body can take but so much weight and perform at the highest level. And that's what we saw, I believe. Now, for some reason, he got fatigued. We've seen against fighters like Triple G, another fighter who has a pressure style, who also has a heavy punch. He was able to take that 12th round and throw about maybe 60-something punches. In other words, he had stamina. Not the old Canelo that would gas out sometimes in fights but still win. But we're talking about the Canelo that came in shape. But fighting at this weight class, fighting a fighter that's peppering you, hitting you with a whole bunch of jabs, it was hard. Even from the first round, Bivol showed that not only do I have a good jab, because we talked about that before the fight, but I going moving forward, but I also can jab moving backwards. So as long as we're in the middle of the ring, I'm gonna be able to touch you first, and I'm throwing 6 punch combinations, 10 punch combinations if you're gonna be on the ropes. He never respected Canelo's power, even the times when Canelo probably hurt him.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, Barack. I think if I had to point out 2 things that made a difference in this fight was volume of punches from Bivol and I don't want to say lack of condition from Canelo, but the fact that he wasn't in condition late in that fight in order to have enough energy to be typical Canelo Alvarez. What's typical Canelo Alvarez to me? Constant head movement, because those straight punches that Bivol was throwing, normally Canelo would slip, and get in distance to land big body shots. But credit to Bivol and his shell defense, it was hard for Canelo to even get body shots on it. And Bivol said in the press conference, hey, I knew that he was gonna come in trying to land punches anyway, just as he did with Callum Smith. To the arms, to the elbows. He said he was prepared for that, but he wouldn't break his defense. He would not break his defense to try to get away from those shots in order to let Canelo into the body and into certain, close range. So I think Bivol and his team, they stuck to the game plan from the beginning to the very end. And I think that was a major part in this fight. Now, Canelo, one thing that I noticed that I didn't like was that he was throwing 1 punch at a time. Now, Canelo's not a big volume puncher, Barack, like Bivol was, but when he's in that zone, he's throwing 2 and 3 punches. There's a difference from 1 and 2 and 3 because, one doesn't land, the second one might not, but the third one will. So that would put Dmitry Bivol in danger. So Canelo didn't have that type of volume that I think would have made a big difference in the fight, but credit to Bivol for that.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna have to come with a new game plan. And yeah, he even admitted that he, got a little fatigued in the last rounds. And if you think about it, last rounds. So if you figure the last 2 rounds, if he would have won the last 2 rounds, he would have won the fight according to the judges. You know what I mean? So, and people are complaining about that. I say, hey, let's move on because the right man won. If you want to talk about the judging, we can, but guess what? Nothing gets done about that. So let's just be happy that Vegas got it right.
Barack, but let me just jump in real quick on that. I mean, I know people complaining with the fact that all judges had an identical scorecards. Why can't it be that they all saw the same fight? Because oftentimes we complain that the judges are all over the place. This judge had this round, this guy winning. This judge had the other guy winning, and we complain and harp on the fact that the judges are never on the same accord. Now that we have the judges on the same accord identically, we have a problem with that, and we're looking at it like there's some underhand.
The judges don't agree with what their scorecard says. The guys who are on the outside looking in, who never really judge the fight, are saying that the judges are wrong. Now sometimes we feel that the judges are wrong, and they are wrong, But in this situation, I feel like they had the best vantage point. Did it look like 7-5? It probably could have been 8-4, but that's only one round, so it could have gone. And they could have been judging, maybe they saw Canelo's punches were harder. You know what I mean? Because listen, there were some rounds where Bivol outlanded Canelo, not by much, well, mostly jabs, but outlanded Canelo, but it looked like Canelo punches were harder. He would sit down on all his shots. Even the left hooks, Bivol wouldn't really sit down on. He would shoot the left hook and either jab afterwards or move out of the way. But his combinations is what won him that fight. Now, Canelo switched up a lot of punches. I think there were some punches that he should have used, like the straight right to the body and maybe even a jab to the body, and that probably would have brought that shell defense a little bit down, because he was blocking all of the hooks with that shell. He was blocking a lot of the hooks to the body. Matter of fact, Canelo usually tears up his opponent's body. He wasn't able to get to it like he normally could. So I believe the straight right would be the only thing open. It's impossible to cover every part of your body or face that scores a point. Now, he did start early punching to the arm, but he wasn't able to hurt him like he hurt Callum Smith and take away that arm completely.
Yeah, I mean, he fought a guy that was very strong and prepared for this type of matchup. Look, Barack, I think that the fact that Bivol wasn't afraid of Canelo's power, because, in recent years, the guys that Canelo are facing, once they face that power or they feel the power early in a fight, they don't exchange as much. They won't risk in the line of fire to throw 3 or 4 or 5 punches the way Bivol did. I think Bivol was able to sustain his power early, and he said, okay, I can take more risks in here. I can stay in the pocket and even if Canelo throws 2 or 3 shots, I'm gonna take that risk because I'm gonna get these shots off. I think that was a difference in the fight.
And we also saw a smaller Canelo. That Canelo that was 175 against Kovalev looked bigger. This Canelo is a vegan now. You know what I mean? So he looked smaller, he looked leaner. And you talking about Bivol is a big guy who, bigger than Kovalev, who is used to taking shots like from Joe Smith, who's probably a way heavier puncher than Canelo, especially at straight right.
But with all that said, Barack, I did honestly, with the exception of one uppercut that I believe was in the 4th round landed by Canelo, I didn't really see Canelo land flush Canelo type of shots.
Right.
Meaning like overhand right, the defense from Bivol was great on that overhand loop and right. It was almost perfect. And Canelo did try at times sliding it down the pipe, but it didn't land flush. So yes, we can say that Bivol can take Canelo's power, and he did, because he landed a hard uppercut, but it wasn't.
Yeah, but even that uppercut is not like him sitting down on a lot of those uppercuts. Exactly. He really wasn't sitting down on those shots. No, they would lead uppercuts too. Sometimes
because he's short, and if he leans squat slow to try to land that, Bivol is so far away. In that 5th round, where there was an onslaught of punches by Bivol, landed on Canelo on the ropes, and there were maybe 2 or 3 rounds like that that were very, impressive for Bivol. People that were, obviously looking at the fight through his team's lens, like, yo, this is big. But, those are only rounds, so those rounds were won big, but that round doesn't get you 2 rounds or 3 rounds. And I think that's what a lot of people see. Or the overall picture of the fight is that Bivol landed a lot of clean shots, which he did, but the fight is scored by rounds. So I did see Canelo winning 4 to 5 rounds in that fight. But if I had to sum it up real quick, the volume of punches and the discipline in Bivol of sticking to the game plan, and Canelo running out of gas late in that fight, and lack of combinations, only 1 punch at a time, I think that played I think that was a major difference in this fight.
Absolutely, and I think he was he was attacking that arm. And the thing about that is you're attacking the arm, and yes, you're hurting him. It didn't really take away that left hand of Bivol, and it's not scoring shots. So a lot of your hardest punches was to that arm, and it probably could have went elsewhere, and he probably could have threw some feints to make, to make an opening. And like what Mike Tyson has been saying online, the jab. He jabbed more against Triple G. He jabbed to get inside. Even faking the jab can get you inside sometimes. And I think there's just things that he can tweak to do a better job. And that's the thing. In a rematch, when you look at tape, Bivol is going to be like, well, I got the blueprint to beat Canelo. Canelo's going to see the things he can do different. So we don't know what Bivol's going to change. Bivol will probably come in the same way. I think it's easier now for Canelo to come back different and even better, seeing the mistakes that he made and the things that he can do differently.
Yeah, 100%. But as I always say, this is a theater of the unexpected. This is boxing. It makes it interesting. We have a new, a new sheriff in town in the light heavyweight division.
But listen to what Bivol said afterwards, which I agree with him. He's like, yo, I beat a guy that doesn't really belong in my weight class.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But I did beat the best fighter in the world. And I was saying to everybody, I was like, this is Canelo daring to be great. He's not supposed to be able to beat Bivol.
No, he's not. That's not his weight class. And Bivol did say, later on that, hey, let's make the rematch at 168 so I can go for all of your titles at 168.
I say no, because then if you beat Bivol, you don't get the credit because people are going to say you're drained.
Come down.
Go for the legacy, go back to 175, tweak some things, and you got a stronger possibility.
Yeah, make the adjustments. And that's why boxing is so exciting. I think Canelo, I agree with you. I think there's adjustments can be made where a lot of those rounds can go the other way. But we'll see, man. But credit to Bivol. Hell of a win. He is going to be on that pound for pound list. Once we got to sit down and think, Barack, and see how we're going to rank
No,
this
but
up.
listen, I think it's going to be hard. I think even the second fight is going to be hard against Bivol because some of the things Canelo's going to have to do is punch with Bivol. Bivol showed that he's not slow.
Yeah.
He's not slow. So this is a great fight, and this is going to be a great rematch. And Bivol has proven that he's a great champion.
Without question, no, and I'm looking forward to it. More on that story, the Zone News, they got you covered, and all things boxing, so you make sure you check them out.